Begin Self-Publishing, episode number 71. Check, check, and check again.
Interested in self-publishing but don't know where to start? Want to get your book onto Amazon? Want to hold your paperback book in your hands? Learn how on the Begin Self-Publishing podcast with your host, Tim Lewis.
As you may have noticed, this is another solo show. And similarly to last week, my original topic idea was to talk about my experiments with Twitter ads that I've been engaging in, partly because I'm doing a talk about it, the Alliance of Independent Authors Indie Fringe conference, which is happening this Saturday and Sunday. My particular session, which is pre-recorded video, so I won't be doing it live, is at 6 o'clock in the morning UK time. So in the US, that's even earlier. That's about 1 o'clock in the morning on the East Coast and about 11 o'clock at night on the West Coast. However, I haven't really completed or been that successful with the Twitter ads. And I thought I'd wait a few weeks before doing a rundown on what exactly had happened with my experiments on running Twitter adverts. Something actually happened that made me change my show topic completely. I've been noticing that I hadn't been getting many sign-ups in terms of the beginselfpublishing.com website for the free email course that I run there. Now, I've never had massive amount of sign-ups to it, to be fair. Basically, you sign up on the website and you get sent an email every few days about an aspect of self-publishing. And once you run through that course of 7 emails, you start getting weekly emails from me about the show topics. One of the big things that had boosted my email sign-up rate was actually installing one of these annoying pop-up boxes on my website. Now, there is a free plugin called Sumo Me, which provides things like email pop-ups. I'd always known that it had a paid service. But what I hadn't appreciated was that probably a few months ago, they transitioned from having a link with MailChimp that was free to you having to be on their paid service to actually get your emails automatically added to your MailChimp list. Now, the problem with this was that, not for the first time, I've had a few people who've shown interest in my list and they haven't received the emails they should have done. And this has got me thinking about a wider issue, which sadly all of us have to think about. Even though we'd like it to be the situation that you can just set up things like your Amazon page or your website, get it working once, check it, and then it'll all be fine and you never need to check it again. It's very easy to get into the mindset that's all you need to do and then you're all done and that's fine. The trouble is that things change. So Sumo Me, to be fair, may have sent me an email saying that they were making this change so that you have to be on the paid service to get the integration with MailChimp. The thing is, they send so many emails generally saying, please sign up to the pro version because you can suddenly get 10,000 million emails by doing this, this and this that are only available in the pro version. But they probably told me about this change, but I just didn't notice it. So rather than being automatically added to the email list on MailChimp and hence getting all the emails, these poor guys who've been signing up last month or so on my website from the pop-up boxes have just been added to a little list of names that have been sitting in a dashboard within my WordPress site on the Sumo Me tab, which never got added to the email list. So I've added them all in. So apologies if you suddenly get a whole load of self-publishing emails and you're wondering where they come from. Because at some point in the last month or so, you've signed up for my email list on the pop-up box that appeared on the website. So on the wider point of what to test, I think I'm going to add in procedures into my weekly or monthly lists, probably more likely monthly, where I check a whole load of things to make sure that they're still working. I think actually this list will probably grow with time. First thing to keep a check on is book descriptions and Amazon listings in general. Amazon have a habit of mucking about with how the book descriptions look. So a nice formatting effect that you may have used beforehand because you read it somewhere or somebody said about it may suddenly stop working because Amazon have decided that they don't want that formatting effect to look good. So just generally how your pages look. Another thing worth checking is that when you search for your book, you actually have the right number of book listings. Once I had some bizarre secondary listing for my Magpies and Magic 2 book, which had all the details from the first book listing, but actually had the cover image of the second book. There seemed to be some sort of system errors on Amazon part, and they took it down fairly quickly. But I just happened to notice this when doing a search, and I was like, well, why are there 2 listings for my book? Just this kind of simple search activity on Amazon and whatever other publishers you're available on is worth doing. Because they may have made a change that's either broken your listing or something's not working properly. If you're very keen, you can look at things like the look inside listings of your books occasionally as well. Obviously, it's worth checking that your email sign-ups work from all the places where people can sign up for your lists. So, for example, if you've got links in the back of your book to an email sign-up list, then make sure that that link still works in the way that you think it does. That it hasn't somehow got broken. Similarly, something that you should be looking at, and I'm not sure that I've mentioned before, is there's a free service that Google provide called Google Web Search Console. You may have heard of it as Google Webmaster Tools, but it's now called Google Web Search Console. And if you haven't signed up for this for your website, then you probably should do, as it provides information about what Google thinks about your website. So it'll tell you about lots of things that it doesn't like about your website that maybe are killing off your search ranking. Now, I've had this issue in my beginselfpublishing.com site. I had a slight error in the configuration, which meant that every single page on the front tab had the same meta description. Now, what this caused Google to think is that I had what's known as duplicate content in my site. And since I've fixed that, my search traffic has gone up from virtually nothing to not a lot. But obviously, these little things matter. So there's an area called HTML improvements. The worst thing to look for is what are known as manual alerts. I never had one of these, but this is where you get a warning from Google that you're doing something bad on your website. Now, this could be totally unintentional. It could be that somebody from a spam site has linked to your site. And the only way you're really probably going to know about this is from the Google Webmaster Tools, or the Google Search Console as it's called now. Well, it will tell you that casinoviagra.com is linking to your awful website. You can then take the action, or what's known as disavowing that link, and telling Google that you don't want to be linked. You don't want them to consider that link from casinoviagra.com to your site. I don't know if there is a casinoviagra.com. I certainly wouldn't recommend going to it. That's just an example of, the kind of site where you don't want a link from them to your site. There's lots of other useful stuff in that Google Web Search Console as well. In the extra tools section, there's a speed test you can run on your site. I have tried quite a few times to speed up my beginselfpublishing.com website, but it does always seem that I use one plugin to speed up my site and that breaks something else on the site. So I haven't quite worked out how to do that yet. But the actual speed of your website does make a difference to Google. The faster it is, certainly on mobile, the quicker your page loads, the higher you're likely to rank in Google, at least on mobile devices. The other thing to check is that all the analytics and any tracking pixels that you use on your site are actually working. Again, I had this a few weeks ago where I suddenly had no visits to my sites at all on Google Analytics, and I was a bit perturbed because I'm used to at least 5 or 6 daily visits to my website, even on a bad day. And yet there was nothing. And what had happened was that one of the caching plugins that had been updated had broken the analytics on my website and all the pixels. It took a while to get that to work. Again, it was from my efforts to speed up my site. I had installed this W3 WordPress caching plugin, and it had broken all the other things on my site. The last thing worth checking is, coming back to this, what does your website actually look like on a mobile device? As much as we'd like to have this idea that everybody uses desktop PCs, in reality, most people looking at your website will be looking using a mobile device. So it's worth periodically checking that perhaps pop-ups and other things that you have on your site actually make your site look all right on a mobile device. I'm sure there's lots of other things that I probably should be checking, and as they come to mind, or more likely as they go wrong, I'll be adding in more checks that I do probably on a weekly basis, or maybe a monthly basis, depending on how things go. But it's so much better to know about these things before they become an issue. Because there's been too many cases, certainly in my experience, where I've not noticed that something's gone wrong. And that can be a real issue. You're far better to know that something's gone wrong within a week or two, rather than months later. And then finding out that you've got lots of angry email list subscribers who don't understand why they're now getting emails when they should have got them months ago. And it also causes reputational damage if, say, Amazon puts the wrong book description onto your page. And the people that buy Casino Viagra have taken over your book listing to put in their new link to their new site, or something along those lines. So it's worth checking everything periodically. Don't just assume that things are going to keep working and keep the same. You have to keep an eye on everything. It's a sad fact of life in the self-publishing world. So that's it for this week. Next week I'm going to be back to an interview. I'm not sure about the week after that. Maybe another solo show. But I'm certainly getting back into booked interviews now. So talk to you guys next week.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed today's show, please stop by iTunes and rate and leave a review. This helps make the show more visible. For free resources, show notes, and other helpful content, join the community at beginselfpublishing.com.